Hmm. Hello and welcome back to Excel at Excel. My name is Bruce, and in this episode we're going to take yet another look at formulas. Now, we did go over quite a few in the last one, including VLOOKUP. We're not going to really be touching on that one in this episode, but if you would like me to go more in depth, please let me know, and I'd be happy to. But I do have a couple more formulas that I think would be useful, in particularly on this spreadsheet that we've been working on thus far with our employees and their wages and things like that. So let me just quickly walk you through some of the changes I've made to these spreadsheets since we last checked in. The first one would be on the Employees tab, which you see I inserted a few columns here for city and state, and I put a new column at the end for new wage. Now, you may have already seen, but on the salary report form, this affected our formula here because now it's reporting that Juliette Lewis makes no money. And that's because of this right here. It's still looking for column 6. And if we go into employees over here and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's currently empty. So that's the problem. What we really need to report on is 6, 7, 8, the 8th column. So that's simple as going back here and changing this 6 to an 8. Keep that in mind because things like that will trip you up. Now, the other things I added here would be the email and a city-state field. And we're going to add one more, but we're going to get to that in a second. I'm going to show you kind of a cool little trick. So the first thing that I'd like to show you is how to, for example, create an email address based on the information we have over here. And we're going to just follow like first initial of their first name dot last name at zdp.com. We want to select just the first letter of her first name. So what we're going to do is we're going to do equals concat open parentheses, and there's a function called left, which returns the specified number of characters from the start of a text string. So in other words, it's going to look at the person's first name in this case and select however many characters we tell it to return. And we need an open parentheses for that function. Now we select which text we want to grab the left characters from, or character in this case. So we're going to go to our employees, go to Juliette Lewis's first name, and we're going to then hit a comma, and then select the number of characters, which in this case is just 1. Right? So we've got our employee selected. We've got just 1. We're going to close the parentheses, and then we need to say add some more text to this, because right now we've just got her first initial. And if I hit a comma, actually let's just go ahead and enter in a space. To enter text manually, you would type in a double quote, and then whatever you're going to type, and then an end quote. So if I just go ahead and do this right now, you'll see we've got Jasada Zada Zada, okay? Because it's adding the J from Juliet and then what I typed in there. That's not what we want, though. What we want is to put in a dot and then her last name. So, sort of similar idea. Double quote, dot, double quote. That's the next text string we're going to add. Then we need to add another text string. This one's pretty easy because we're just going to go down and select her last name, like so. And then we need another line of text, so open parentheses, or open double quotes, I mean. And we're going to put at zdp.com and close the quotes and close our formula. And there we go. We got J. Lewis at zdp.com. Now, that's all well and good, but emails are typically not case sensitive, so it's not necessary to really put in capital letters. So if you wanted to fancy this up a little bit, you can use something called lower. There's upper and lower. By the way, there is also right. So if, for example, I change this to right, you'll see it grabs T. Lewis, because the last letter in her name is a T, so it's grabbing T. Lewis. But we don't want that. We want left. So basically left and right opposites. Upper and lower are opposites. We're going to use lower instead of upper because we want these to be all lowercase. That's as simple as putting in lower open parentheses, and it's going to grab this left letter here. We're going to close that parentheses, and then we need to put a lower open parentheses for this section here. Close that parentheses, and now hit enter, and we've got her name all in lowercase. You could do the same thing with upper as well. So if I change these lowers to uppers, which again wouldn't really make sense in this case, but you can do it. Now we've got it all capitalized, except for the ZDP. So we're going to leave that like so. And again, you can use upper, lower, left, or right. They are merely opposites to one another. And I've showed you concatenate, which we can actually use it here as well in a more simple application, just by going equals concat. Remember before we did this with a fill, but you can also do it this way. First name, comma, then we need a space, so we're going to put quote, space, quote, comma, last name. Close the parentheses, hit enter, and there we go. Now we can go ahead and move this down, and everything should stay the same. But now they're all formulas instead of the actual text. Now, another thing we could do would be to trim text. So let's say that we wanted our person here, our coworker, to enter in the city and state in which this person lives too. And let's say it's going to be Hollywood, California. Whoops. Like so. But let's say that we don't necessarily trust them to not, enter in too many extra spaces or something, so they put Hollywood, a bunch of space in California. Well, you could do something like this and do CS correct and use equals trim, which as you can see there is going to trim all of the spaces from a text string except for single spaces between words. And that's exactly what we want, because that's, how a city state format should look. So if we trim this field here and close it, we get the proper way that it should look, Hollywood, California. So now we can even go so far as to, in this employee, say that her city, let's just get rid of this. And you know what? I probably should have just made this city, or just put location. Let's do that. So I'm sorry if you went ahead and made this, but I'm simplifying things a little bit here. So we can say the location is equal to whatever is on this report form and this cell right here, the corrected one, and hit enter. And we get Hollywood, California. Now, if you don't want the person who's entering this data to see that, you can simply left-click this cell, right-click this cell, and then go down to hide. Okay? You can do other stuff to protect it as well, but for now, that's a pretty clean and dirty way to take care of it. We're getting a reference problem here. Oh, and that's because we, again, messed with our columns. So we got rid of a column, so we need to fix that there. Okay, so now we have it reporting over the Hollywood, California for Juliette Lewis. Let's say she moves to, I don't know, let's say she moves to Boston. And let's say, again, our employee puts in way too many spaces. So to them, it looks like that. On the other page, however, it's correct, but they don't see the correction on the page, which is pretty helpful. There's a few other things we can look at as well, such as the new wage. If we go over to the employees form here, we're going to look at two formulas called and or. Let's say that we want to give out some raises to people, all right? We've been making some good money, and we want to give raises for certain things to certain people. So let's say, for example, that we want to give a raise. If your name is Sam Jackson, we'll just use the last name. If your last name is Jackson and you're in the second department. So what we can do is we can do an if function. And what were we going to test for? We're going to actually put in and, because we want to test two things, not just one. So in this case, our logical test has two parameters. One is the last name Jackson. Two is a department number 2, okay? And so if we use and, open parentheses, and we start our logical test being the last name is equal to Jackson. Slowing down here for some reason. If it will type, there we go. Close the quotes. And then that's the first logical question. And the second logical question is if the department is equal to 2. close out that and, because those are our two logical tests. Then what are we going to do if it's true? Well, we're going to increase the wage by $5,000. So we're going to take this wage, and we're going to increase it by $5,000. And if it's not true, we're just going to report back the same wage as before, close our formula, and there we go. Quentin Tarantino, because he's not Sam Jackson and because he's not in department number 2, is still going to make $100,000 a year. If we copy this formula down, and let's make all of these currency, then there we go. What do we see? Sam Jackson is the only one whose salary has been affected because he's in department 2, and his last name is Jackson. So just he will get the raise of $5,000 because of that and statement, which means both of these things need to be true in order to apply this change. If we change that instead to an or, then it will check to see if either are true, and if either are true, it will apply the change. So Tarantino is neither Jackson nor is he in department number 2. Same true for everybody except for Sam Jackson, Michael Parks, Uma Thurman, George Clooney, and Michael Madsen. So if we copy this down, all the people in Department 2 now should see that $5,000 increase, and they do. It is kind of arbitrary, obviously, to put in this first test if you're just going to give it to all of the second department, but this is just for example's sake. So you can see if you're in Department 2 or if your last name is Jackson, you get the raise. We could even be kind of stingy here and say you only get it if your last name is Jackson or if your last name is Parks. Okay, and say only those people are going to get raises. So Sam Jackson's getting his raise. How about everybody else? Nope. Sorry, Tarantino. Sorry, Rodriguez. How about you guys? What are you guys getting? Well, Parks gets his raise. Nobody else gets their raise. So that's going to do it for now. I hope you've gotten something out of this. If you're liking this, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more, hit subscribe. I welcome any comments, suggestions, anything you'd like to see. Perhaps a topic for a future episode. I welcome all feedback. But definitely hit like if you're getting something out of this, and definitely hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. I do appreciate the input and the support. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time on Excel at Excel. Take care.